Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, home to the Asian Oprah. Number one talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, Streaker, and more. Why so many places? Well, I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, no K-words here, no Kardashian talk at all, no headlines. We want to balance out the headlines with heartlines because frankly, my dear, everything in the news these days is negative and worrying and fearful and anxious making. And I don't want to live like that. So that's why this show's been going on for 692 consecutive weeks, but who's counting? 1,449 podcast shows. I think I was doing podcasts before they called it podcasts. And so grateful. Just found out my impressions number is 3.98 million now. So I am, so glad the people that said I wouldn't last a year were wrong. And not only do I bring you great topics and great guests, I have great series as well. And you can tell by the good-looking guy in studio with me today, it's time for Straight Talk with myself and
the Kramer from Seinfeld haired James Hawthorn today. That's the only K-Talk we'll get in there. K for Kramer.
He's a trainer, actor, a bunch of other things, but all good. And welcome back to the studio, James Hawthorn. And we're going to start with breakfast. I haven't seen you in a bit, so this is used as a catch-up too. I don't allow my co-hosts to talk to me when they're off the air because I want to keep everything fresh. Yes, every weekday morning I am live here on my YouTube TV channel. And let's see, breakfast consists of taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich, top of the bun. Things that we're grateful for outside of ourselves, bottom of the bun, because I like it on the bottom, although it's been so long, I don't even remember why I say that. Bottom of the bun is things that we're grateful for inside of ourselves, called appreciation. So that's what we do every weekday morning on this show. What are you grateful for, James Hawthorn?
I am grateful for my friend Brandon. I love win-wins, so this is a bit of a win-win. He moved his mom down to live closer to him, and she started yakking it up with the neighbor, and turns out that neighbor has season tickets to the Dodgers, like 4 rows back of the dugout, close enough where you can hear the players talk and all that. And she invited her and her son to go, and unfortunately for Brandon, he has to work, but his mom's getting older, doesn't want her driving around LA and dealing with all that. So I get to play chauffeur and get a Dodgers experience that would be normally way outside of my budget. So I'm excited for that, to take his place there and also do a good deed and drive his mom and her friend to the game. So grateful to Brandon for thinking about me for an opportunity that I'm sure I'm going to enjoy very much.
I thought I was all excited because I thought you were going to say that for my birthday, which is on Sunday, that you were going to give me that ticket. But oh, well, so much for that hope and expectation. I am grateful that I am going to have a birthday party for my birthday this year, even though I was supposed to be in Africa for my birthday, but I figured sitting at home feeling bad about not being in Africa was not going to be good for me. So I organized an impromptu birthday party. So if you're in LA and you want to go, hit me up. I don't want to go on Facebook and invite 6,000 people. So, but I know James is going to stop by. My co-hosts are all going to come and celebrate my birthday with me on Sunday. So I'm grateful for plan Bs in my life. And yeah. What else are you grateful for?
I'm grateful to friends and family. I missed my regularly scheduled rotation on a whirlwind tour of the East Coast. Initially went for a friend's wedding I've known for 15 years, and so great to celebrate with her and make some new friends, meet some new friends of hers that I hadn't met that live out in LA. And it was in Pennsylvania, so it was cool to see everybody travel out there. It's where she grew up. And in that same 8-day span, I got to see my mom and see my dad, and was all over the East Coast. It was a tour to East Coast. So it wasn't a necessarily restful or relaxing vacation, but it was nice to get out of LA, spend some quality time with friends and family. And my dad lives in a beautiful part of South Jersey Shore. So got some really nice beach and ocean swims in. That part was relaxing. So very grateful for that.
Awesome. I am grateful for a really great new doctor. My hematologist, Dr. Shar, is so nice and thorough and kind. He called to follow up, and I'm obviously still moving through the reality of the clot's not being dissolved. So it's a good thing I canceled Africa, but it got confirmed that the rest of the tour is canceled because of the risk, because of the blood clots. And I will have to be on blood thinners for the rest of my life because this was the second infraction. And that means no more sailboat racing. And I'm, doing what I teach and preach, which is feel the feelings fully. And it's, I'm just knowing that faith is a choice, that it's always this or better, but cutting myself some slack. And when I don't feel like, I was in Whole Foods ordering my cake, and when he called, I was standing in front of the bakery, like trying to hide my tears. And it's like, you know what? I don't care. I'm not going to apologize. Tears are the disinfectant that keep our hearts soft. And certainly this is something that I was not planning on. And lots of different areas of my life that I love so much that have been impacted. And, like pain in life is mandatory, but suffering is optional. And the only way for me not to suffer is to feel it. And I'm grateful that I have a great doctor who, is sensitive and also, has my best interest. So I'm grateful for that.
As excited as I know you were to go on that tour and do all that travel, and you just don't know what's waiting on the other side, what opportunities are afforded to you now because you're here. And I know that's little consolation, but the truth is, we never really know. We just don't know what's awaiting for us. And with someone as creative and inspired as you are, I'm excited to see how you make the most of this abrupt left turn in life, because we don't know what they say, when one door closes another opens. I can't wait to see what door you fling open with what is now the situation. Well, it's going to be exciting to see that together.
Yeah, that saying, I know that when one door closes, another one opens, but sometimes it's hell in the hallway.
Yeah.
I'm in the hallway.
Hell in the hallway.
So, as I interviewed Halle Berry, she said, when you're going through hell, keep going. And, I have to use that tool, ICBW, and that'll be my, what I appreciate about myself is that I have the tools to move through this. in the best possible way, using the same things that I use to coach people. ICBW is, it could be worse. And my hematologist is located in the Todd Cancer Pavilion, and, seeing people who are walking around with scarves on their head, and knowing they're moving through their journey in cancer. And he said that is one of the things that could be contributing to the clotting, but because I don't have any of the other symptoms. But it just really makes you appreciate what you do have. So in that sense, I appreciate that part of me. What do you like about yourself, James?
I like that I am always able to find hope, to keep moving forward in life when things maybe don't go my way or are disappointing. I'm able to find something else to aim for and strive for. Maybe it's born out of necessity. I don't want to feel helpless at any point in time. I was recently on a veil for a big show, and life as an actor until you've made it, is just one disappointment after another. But by keeping your horizon full of things that excite you and are important to you, it helps you move through it and move forward, and it helps you stay like steadfast. So I like that I'm able to stay steadfast and not get fully derailed with disappointments. Find something to shoot for and hope for, and I think I'm pretty good at that, and I like that.
Yes, I'm doing a story on Insta. Sorry, I'm listening,
Yep,
but it's for us. I appreciate that I can do a really good pity party. I mean, I can do a really good feel sorry for myself, and that's a skill too for those who like to sit on it. But most of all, I appreciate that I absolutely don't want to sit on the pity pot for a long time. One, because you're exposing yourself to constant shiitake. But also it just doesn't feel good. So I really appreciate this platform that I created and continue to produce even when I don't feel like it. And I was saying to someone the other day that, thank God for this show, because no matter how I feel when I wake up, and these days it's been not a good wake up, because I wake up and then I go, I can't race sailboats anymore. And then I go into this not good place, is that I have to get up and do this show every morning to feel better. I just automatically do. So I appreciate that.
I think it's so important. I think it's so important to have those anchors in your life. And, this is for everybody. It really keeps you grounded. It's a sense of belonging. Like we all need community and we all need anchors. And I feel like this show is both, because there's a community of listeners and it's an anchor, something that you do every day. It's one of those life practices almost. It's just like what we're doing now with what we're grateful for and what we like about ourselves. It's an anchor to help you stay steadfast when the storm is raging. And I think that's a really beautiful thing.
All right. And that's it for Breakfast with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn.
Join me every weekday morning to do this good life habit. #Blisscipline. Takes 21, 28, 30, whatever you believe as the time that it takes to create a good habit. You can do this with me or on your own. But thanks for joining us for breakfast this morning. And it's a great way to sandwich your day in the most positive way. And now for the topic of the day. I'm back with the bell. James, what is it?
We are going to talk about the importance of working on yourself and how that translates to better relationships. We're going to go beyond the cliches. Now, cliches aren't necessarily a bad thing, because the reason they become cliches and everyone says them is usually because they're true. But we're going to dig a little deeper than simply to say, if you don't love yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? And you've got to work on yourself before you can work on your relationships. We're going to dig a little deeper and look at the nuance of that and how it interplays with relationships, both for the good, potentially the bad, and where that balance line is.
Great topic. By the way, that's a really cute dog on your shirt. I just noticed. That's
Thank
so
you. Yes,
cute.
he's a Frenchie.
You don't have a Frenchie though,
dog.
right?
No, I
You
don't.
Yeah, I'm the one with the Frenchie grand dog son, right? So cute, so cute. All right, so keeping it real, for that topic, I have a reason why that hit me. But do you want to go first? I usually ask you why you picked the topic.
Please go ahead, share. Let's.
Okay.
I like the way that you summarized it on the post for Instagram, and I can tell that it made you think about things a little bit differently than the way the topic hit me when I came up with it. So I'm very curious to hear how it hit you and what's on your mind with it.
All right. Well, James texted. Let's see. How did I write it? I have a great memory, but my recall sucks. So, okay. Does being the best you can be help or hurt your relationships? Are you so self-sufficient that you had no that you geez, that you no longer fit with anyone? Man, my grammar last night. I was in the middle of a mahjong tournament, so that's my excuse. I went to the bar to write this last night, and I don't drink, so that's go figure. But yeah. So when you sent me the work on yourself, be the best you can be, is how I took that. I have been living the impact of being the best that I can be and working on myself and making sure that my emotional baggage is carry-on size and not oversized baggage. And the benefits of that is I think I'm lovable as a mate. However, I'm almost too self-sufficient. I know how to soothe myself. I know how to make myself happy. I know what I like. And then when it comes to dating, I'm like, well, they have more emotional baggage than I do, or they haven't worked on themselves, or they've worked on themselves, but almost like overworked themselves. And I have to give you this example that happened. I went on a date. So I'm on date number 33, first dates from Swipe or No Swiping. And we went to a place to eat. I'm not going to give it away where otherwise, but I've been on like 5 dates last week. So now that I'm sticking around, so I'm not going anywhere. And I want an alpha, and I know that means I have to not talk so much and let the guy talk. And he talked, and the couple that was sitting beside us, when they left, the woman came over to our table and looked at my date and said, "You talk too much."
To the date?
I'm sorry, but I said, well, it's a first date. And she looked at me and said, well, he should be asking you questions. And then he said, oh, thanks for the finger. Somebody just gave us the finger, this one. And then he was like speechless. And I was trying not to laugh. And so she left and he goes, do I talk too much? And I was like, oh, what? Because I was being so good, James. I was like, and I said, well, and he's like, well, then fine, I'm not going to talk anymore.
Well, for one thing, he shouldn't be flustered by someone else's opinion, that's, because they're sitting there eavesdropping and, giving an unsolicited opinion. So, there's that. And then also, you're trying something different. You're taking a different tack. And so in this very specific context, you're trying something new, yourself. And then he went and kind of internalized that, which was very interesting. Sometimes I like to go and do what you did, and let the other person just talk, because I am a curious person. I want to ask a lot of questions. And, if the other person talks 90% of the time, I'm okay. But what I'm not okay with is if they don't ask me a single question about, myself, that seems like it's coming from a genuinely curious place, not, placatory questions of, well, what do you do? How'd you get to LA? But, something that is organic from the conversation we're having. And if they don't ask me anything about myself, I consider that a red flag. But I'm okay with the other person talking 90% of the time. I've talked a lot my whole life.
It was 98.
Wow.
And even after that, it was 96. So, and she did say, I know you didn't ask for my opinion before she launched. So it was funny. And she goes, and we've been married 30 whatever years. And her husband's standing there like super sheepish. Like, sorry. Can you believe it?
See, now I want to know what percentage, she does of the talking in her relationship.
Oh, I'm sure it's 99, but that's not the point of this. It was delightful as a new thing. Anyway, so getting back to that is why I'm saying that I feel like I've worked on myself enough and so much that it is more difficult to mesh or match with the average guy, should I say? Or
I mean, but you don't want average. And we've talked before about how, we both have very high standards. I'm a very accepting and forgiving person, but if I'm going to enter into relationship, I have a very high standard for that. And we've talked about, I mean, that's okay. And that's fine. A relationship really has to improve the quality of your life, and your life, regardless of whether or not you're on a world tour or not, is always so full, that person really has to elevate that whole experience. And I think you and I have that in common. So, that becomes more of a standards discussion as opposed to, the amount to which you've worked on yourself, and also a compatibility thing, because, your list of non-negotiables might be a little bit longer because you've done the work. And I see you as somebody that's not going to tolerate somebody who is lazy when it comes to doing the work,
But that is my point exactly. It was already pretty long of a list, and now this kind of puts the cherry on top, or the nail on the coffin, right? The benefits and the consequences. So I almost called it balance as the title, because that's what it is for me. I have to, like, okay, another good example. I have traveled to every single country that I want to, right? And there's only one country I have not been to that I want to go to watch the Aurora Borealis. And it's like, I purposely have not done that because I have to save something. So it's similar to that. Like, I've done so much that there's nothing left to share.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I think that we're works in progress. and most of us are pieces of work until the day that we die. And so, there's always something that, we can improve upon and get better at. And sometimes we learn what those things are in reflection of other people as we're pursuing romantic interest. We learn about ourselves through how others perceive us. Now, we obviously don't want to make our life choices based on how other people perceive us, but it can be an informative tool as to, the kinds of things that maybe we can work on to continue to improve and grow. So I'll say that as a counterpoint. But then to affirm what you're saying, I think that, perfectionism can be, the death of both your own growth and improvement, and also can prevent you, can put up an artificial wall from being happy in relationships. So one thing we wanted to talk about when I saw your response to the topic was this idea of balance. And I used to feel like I had to get all my ducks in a row before I could really date. And that's simply not true. Most people don't have it all together. They have things in their life that they feel like they're working on or need help with. And you don't have to be, a perfectly wrapped package to, enjoy dating and find your partner and find your mate. In fact, I think a really important part of building trust and love in a relationship is helping each other grow and improve. So there's a point at which you have to say, you know what? I have enough of my stuff together where I'm ready to go and date. But then on the flip side, I was throwing myself a bit of a pity party the other day. And, I feel like, man, I got to get all these things together before I can really be a good partner in relationship. And that's the opposite of the things we like about ourselves, part of breakfast that we do on this show. That was me, kind of beating myself up over those things. And I had to remind myself, James, those things are important to you. Make sure that you carve out the time to work on those things that, you think you might be a little behind the eight ball on, but it doesn't mean that you don't have all this other stuff to offer right now. And to flip that and put it on the other person, I've always found it, offensive is too strong of a word, but I found it maybe a turnoff when the other person is so obsessed with self-improvement themselves, their projects, what they're working on. And these are often the people that talk 99% of the date, right? I look at them and I'm like, well, where do I fit into this? Like, do you just want someone that you can sit to and brag about yourself to across the table? Or are you somebody that, wants to find a partner to do life with together? Like, where do I even fit in this equation? And I find that to be a bit of, not even a turnoff, not offensive, but I look at that and I'm like, so what do you need me for? Like, this doesn't seem like it's a good fit because you're so
why are you even dating? Like, why are you even,
Yeah, it's like you're so self-focused and so self-obsessed. And I look at that person and it almost creates, it creates this concern in my mind that, will I ever be put first in relationship with you? So yes, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first, but at some point you got to give the oxygen of the person next to you. And I'm like, will I ever have a place in your life, or will I always be second fiddle to whatever project or thing or ambition you're chasing? And to me, that's a no-go sign.
Yeah, I just had this visual, James, of you, like the guy's like breathing and you're like,
yeah, exactly. Like, I need some, like, give me some air. Like, when do we get to do, something that I want to do together with you this weekend,
Yeah. I watched Airplane, that classic comedy from a long time ago. And that part when the little girl that was going to get a heart transplant the guitar player knocked off
all of her tubes, the oxygen, everything she had going. Yeah. Like,
I was watching it with my 95-year-old bonus dad. It was so great. It's always great to hear him laugh,
Oh, it's a classic. I mean, 45 years later, that movie is still just
Definitely.
It's a timeless kind of comedy.
Yeah, if you want to laugh this weekend the downside of the series is, one, you get addicted to, watching continuously. But the other thing is you miss out on some classic stuff. So the Happy 88 challenge this weekend is to pull up Airplane and just watch it because it'll make you laugh.
And then Airplane too, it wasn't quite as good, but it was still very good and funny. There was a second one as well that
because that's next for us to imbibe in. But let me go back something you said because of the balance. So if I look at Jerry Maguire, which I've always criticized because I don't want or need anyone to complete me, and that the school of Cinderella and Snow White, you meet the guy, you live happily ever after. That's bullshit hockey. There is no happily ever after, and I don't want or need a man to complete me. However, if I take that too much to an extreme, that's when it's like I become that person you're talking about, where it's what I want, when I want, how I want. And if you don't like that, bye-bye. And that is the extreme that I am bumping up against, where I literally have asked myself this last week with all the things that are going on, like, what do I want? Again, what do I want? And people have pointed it out, this is happening because you really do need to slow down, and it's like, no, I don't want, I've never wanted to slow down. And I'm resenting your well-meaning comment that I do too much, or I'm too much on the go and I need to slow down. And it's like, no, why would I, do something? That's not what I want. I like it. I love my life. And now I have to go, okay, well, one possibility is that life did not afford time to integrate other people into my life. And it's like, I hope I know I'm not being punished, but if I say, I can't wait to see what good comes out of this, possibly this will make me a little more allowing of people who want to spend time with me. But I never had time for it. I don't know. So anyways, that was just my comment. We have to take a quick break for news, weather, and traffic. Word from our sponsor. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We're having a lot of fun here on Straight Talk with myself and
James Hawthorn.
Talking about you, me, myself, and I, and maybe you.
To the world was exploring the world. What if the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, little girl, turns into how many streets of life you want to explore? What if the purpose of life is not to die with the most toys to leave our squabbling relatives? What if the purpose of life was to do things that we enjoy most of the time? Have relationships that we enjoy most of the time, and use our unique talents, gifts, and abilities to fully express in the dash between birth and death. What if, as a direct result of this horrible pandemic, we could rise out of the ashes with the new PPP, post-pandemic possibilities? The sooner you turn, it's impossible, to I'm possible, the what ifs become possible too. because you are loving, lovable, and loved, wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness. But it may start with getting out of bed and making it. What if starts with
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, #1 talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my YouTube TV channel, which houses all 1,449 podcast shows over the past 692 consecutive weeks. And you'll also get that short film. That was my love project, or my hashtag COVID silver lining project. I had time on my hands with all the motivational speaking gigs that got canceled. And so it actually won a laurel, and it is quite motivating. As I played it, I thought, you know what? I don't have to pay people to coach me because I'm just coaching myself with my own stuff. So there is another gratitude there. And welcome back to Straight Talk with myself and
James Hawthorn. Hello, everybody, today.
And we're talking about
working on yourself and what that means in relationship to relationships. How much is too much? How much is not enough? And that's the part that maybe we haven't touched on yet that I'd like to bring up, if that's all right with you.
Please.
So, sometimes, and I've been guilty of this, we can use dating as a distraction from the skeletons in our closet, or, all the old clothes that I've got to clear out of my closet and give to Goodwill. Things that we need to do to improve our life. And sometimes, it's a season to clean up your own house. And then when you go back out into the dating world, there's just something about your energy, your vibe that I think is stronger and more positive. So I really think you have to take an inventory of your heart and see how you feel about your station in life right now. And if you keep having those nagging thoughts of, man, I've really got to get this together, work on this and work on that, don't rush to the distraction of a date or finding somebody to, as you said with Jerry Maguire, complete you. You have to kind of get that together, and then I think you're going to have more success when you go out and date. You're going to present a version of yourself that is more desirable, and that just naturally puts other people at ease and makes them want to be around you. Because when you carry that burden or stress of things that just haven't been taken care of or done, I think it makes you a less enjoyable version of yourself to be around. And obviously we want people to enjoy our company and to want to be, with us. And I've certainly been on dates where, people seem to really not have their stuff together, nearly enough. And you look at that and you go, man, I don't want to take on all of that baggage as well. I mean, I've experienced it with friends and roommates in the past as well. And, even sometimes with family, you have to love some family members from a distance.
From afar. Yep.
Until
from a distance.
Until they're willing to help themselves,
Yes.
And
absolutely. And I think it's that balance, and it's not 50-50. I believe my formula is 80%. If we're good with ourselves 80% of the time, therefore we're not we don't have the disease or dis-ease of perfectionism, because no one is perfect, especially me. And for me, I couldn't accept anyone in their humanness when I couldn't accept myself in my humanness. And that was a big switch for me. And I have to admit, it didn't come, you know, until I would say like 10 years ago. I haven't been, 30 decades or 3 decades of a recovering perfectionist. This is a newer thing. I still thought I could be perfect, but understanding that perfection came out of wanting to be loved. And I was taught early that if I was perfect, then I would be loved. And as a result, I judged people. I wanted them to be perfect. Therefore, they, it was a double edged sword because I wanted them to be perfect, but then I felt inferior to them. Right. And then when I feel perfect, they feel inferior to me. So, what is that formula? For me, it's 80% of the time I know I'm fabulous. 20% of the time I'm human, and same with other people. They are 80. How can I focus on the 80% that they are and not focus on the 20% that they're not? And or use our mutual 20% to grow together, as you said, because there's got to be some value in sharing the hard times individually, collectively, that binds you together. But we're older. I mean, that used to
Yeah.
be the formula for young people, whether you mean high school or college. You don't have the expectation of having it all together before you meet that person. Like the outlier was the guy who said, I want to get all my ducks in a row financially before I propose. That was the old, BS belief system, and they were seen as commitment phobic. And you have people like my bonus parents who were together 74 years, who went through a lot together, and that bound them together. At one point, they almost got a divorce. I'll ask my dad, why, what's the secret to a 74-year marriage? And he said, both of us didn't want a divorce at the same time. Right. So,
Right.
but that's like an old paradigm for us, cutting edge, leading edge right now, bleeding edge, as Abraham will say. We are ageless, but we've already experienced, we've already been chiseled in so many ways. We don't have the desire to chisel more with somebody else.
I mean, I don't feel necessarily that in that last way.
I do.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, I want to invite somebody into my life to see what sort of influence they have on me for the positive, because you, as Yogi Berra once said, you can see a lot by watching. And when you really watch somebody and what makes them tick, and how it can be inspirational, it can be motivational, and you can also learn things about yourself, about how you don't want to be from people, and that can be just as valuable, as long as you are forgiving to that 20%, right, that maybe they're working on. But we always like to offer actionable suggestions or advice from non-experts, blind leading the blind. You're more of an expert than me, as PhD, organizational psychologist, and all of that. But I think it's important. When I look at my life, it's important for me to identify the stressors, the things in my personal sphere, locus of control, that are stressing me out. And I want to address those to the point where they're not nagging me so much, where they're not such a stressor, before I really focus on dating. So if I'm having stress around the idea of career, passion, purpose, all those three things, hopefully, mingle together, I want to feel like I'm on a somewhat clear path, and making progress, before I focus on dating. Or if there's a part of my life that I feel like has been lacking, if I haven't been, and I have a pretty high standard for this as a personal trainer, but if I haven't been achieving or working out at a level that makes me feel really whole and like me, because that's a part of my identity, for better or for worse. That's something that makes me who I am. And if I feel I'm not achieving or putting time and enough in that realm, I want to do that before I really focus on dating. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to go and be ready to run a marathon or, do a triathlon, but I want to feel like I've established some consistency and a path, that satisfies me, in that realm. And so in that regard, then now this isn't sex advice. Sometimes you have to satisfy yourself before you're able to satisfy somebody else in dating. And what I mean by that is you have to identify the stressors, figure out why you're stressed out about it, and set forth a course, a path that you can go on that makes you feel grounded.
There's so many ways I can go around that. As far as getting relief, but the point you're making is valid. If there, I mean, that's why if you noticed in the last part of the trailer for PPP, the short film, it says sometimes it just means starting to get out of bed and make it, like make the bed, right? If you're feeling like a slob and your place is a mess, right? Dirty dishes in the sink and laundry, you have no clean clothes, you keep going to buy new underwear, or your bed isn't made and everything is gross and disgusting. Don't go out. Like that is you haven't taken a shower, but that's what can you control to make yourself feel better without reaching for something outside of yourself to do that. I think that's a valid, actionable item. People say to me all the time, why are you so dressed up? And I go, because it makes me feel good. I'm not doing it for you, babe. Sorry, it's for me. And if you can get that level of self-care, you'll attract people who care about themselves. That's the law of attraction at work. If you are attracting people who you don't like, you got to look at the fact that you're the attractor, right? So where are you? If you're attracting insecure people, chances are your insecurity is what you're wearing when you go out there.
Yeah, and that goes back to the cliche. And like I said, cliches are good because they're often true. That's why they become cliches. That comes back to not just taking care of yourself, but that is self-love. To take care of yourself is, I think, the most fundamental and profound way to love yourself. Having your house in order, having your health and wellness in order. You don't have to be rich, but having a path for your career that's full of passion and purpose. Those are some of the things that I think are so important. And if you're going through trauma and drama in your life, like let's say that you're dealing with all this crapola with your family, for example, you might need to focus on that for a while. Or if you're dealing with, you're trying to find your way through a health thing that has completely derailed your life, like you right now, that has to come first until you see like a path through the darkness, a path through the dense forest. And when you feel at ease with that, you bring that into your dating and relationship life. It's so funny. I don't necessarily consider this duplicity. I consider it a burden and responsibility of my job. But there have been times when I have felt completely like the other parts of my life are just in shambles. But when I go train my clients, I don't bring that because they're paying me to help them, with their problem. So it's not that I'm hiding how I'm feeling. It's that I am choosing to put all of my attention, energy, and focus on them. And that's something that I can do from the knowledge base and skill set I have. I can be of service to them. And in a way, that's not a distraction. That's empowering because I'm taking something in my life that I have full command and control over and using it to serve and help others. And at times, my clients have been my net. Leap and a net will appear, the Buddhist, says. And by fully putting my focus on service and helping others, it becomes motivating and inspiring to get my stuff, in order. And then I'm just
Yeah.
that much better.
Yeah, well, that's what
at
I
what
was
I do.
saying earlier. That's what this show does for me. No matter how I'm feeling
Right.
when I wake up, or getting in the wrong side of the bed, or feeling sorry for myself for the blood clots, I know that by the time I get to the show, and I joke about this all the time, the show's for me, folks. The fact that you enjoy it or get something out of it, that's just a bonus. This is my baby for me, and it does make me feel better no matter how I'm feeling beforehand. So, and as James was saying, your life, you can have like 6, 7, 8 things going on, and 7 of them can be like up Shiitake Creek and not going well. But everyone has one thing out of your 8 that is going well, and it's the power you have to focus on that one thing so fully and completely. I can't remember which teacher it was that told me, it's like, if your thumb's doing really well and you focus on that thumb, the other fingers will begin to get jealous about how well the thumb is going, and they're going to start lining up and becoming as excited and in a good place as the thumb is. Your job is not to keep looking at the fingers that are not working, right? And focus on the one thing that is working. And then soon that energy, that's law of attraction, cannot help but align the other areas of your life. So, yeah, I go out and date, but I'm not sitting here going, it's like, I'll date until, I die probably. But my job is not to like throw that out like a baby. Oh, it's not working. It's not been working. I'm never going to date again. And I'm going to be like the old lady with the silver hair and the turquoise and the cats. That's my job, is not to go there, but focus on the things that are going well. The show's going well. I have friends and family that I have great relationships with. I can still, swim in the pool. I can still have a party. I can still go eat my favorite food. So, that's what I'm focused on.
I think the actionable, advice or suggestion there is everybody needs an anchor. Find the thing that is within your control, that grounds you and centers you. And if you're not sure what that is, you can even go to meditation, where just the act of breathing 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out, however you choose to breathe, that centers you. That's your anchor. And then by simply observing your thoughts rather than letting them run the ship and engage you, you can center yourself. And then a lot of times the answers come and you find clarity in that thing that helps center you and ground you. And having that thing that can't be messed with, that's untouchable, is so important. Whether the anchor is a responsibility to others, such as, the show, such as my clients that I have to show up for and want to show up for, that is enough to get you going. And then that can inspire you to establish some other anchors, like, if your health and wellness is a focus, it can become just a part of what you do to take care of yourself. If you make your bed every day, get 10 minutes of exercise every day. I mean, I have clients that work out 2 hours a week, and I have others that work out 10. And they find that balance that makes them feel their best. But the most important thing is to take that first step and get started, and not look don't look outside of yourself to find it. Take care of yourself to then love yourself, and have those pillars at least semi-full. Career with passion and purpose, health and wellness, make sure that you're putting that, first. And then having, and then having a community that you belong to. And community is different than relationship. Having people that you can lean on, whether it's friends, family, investing in community. So if you have those 3 pillars of community, health and wellness, and passion, purpose driven career, then I think if you at least have clarity around those things, you don't have to have it all figured out and be prosperous and successful in all 3. But as long as they're part of your daily rhythm, I think that you're in a position to reap the greatest rewards and benefits from dating and relationships. So
Absolutely.
I think right then
That's
and there,
a
I
good
said my
final word. That's a good long final word from James Hawthorn, who is very vested in your best you. He also offers great personal training. You can get him at Action Man Fitness. Success is having what you want and wanting what you have. So if you're telling me, Dr. Marissa, I don't have a thumb that's working well, that's bullshit-talky. You're probably one of the 3% in our population in the world who has food in their fridge, car in the garage, gas in the tank, money in your wallet, a roof over your head. That's a lot. And if you don't have that, you still have a body that digests your food, whether you don't want it to or not. You are a source of well-being, whether you recognize it or not. We want you to recognize it. That's my final word. Thanks for joining us today. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. James, take us out.
Now have the best weekend ever.
I'll see you on Monday. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. I almost forgot to do that.